one of my favorite cars that I've ever owned.
Not quite circles anymore, but it'll work. Next hurdle, but we're working through it.
For something that's 45 years old, it still is plenty of power. How does a 44-year-old Mercedes, or car in general, hold up? Hey everyone, welcome back to DCMotorWerks. My name's Cameron. Today I have with me my 1979 450 SEL 6.9, and I'm wearing my fabulous Southern Classic shirt here today because this just completed its third Cannonball type event and it won. And today I wanted to spend a few minutes to show you around it and show you why it's quickly become one of my favorite cars that I've ever owned. So you can see the car is in full war paint. Haven't had a chance to clean it, and nor did I want to for this video. It did 1,360 miles in 14 hours and 14 minutes. Didn't quite beat our time from last year. We had a few run-ins with traffic and so forth, but still managed to lead the pack by a small margin of 5 minutes. Event host, Taylor Hull, which I'll put him up here. Check him out. Very grateful for him for putting on these events and putting on 3 events that we have won. So super exciting. We've had some other videos about this car that I'll put up in this area over here. But today we just want to show you, go for a ride and some stuff that we haven't done in the other videos, and just show you what it was like for us to spend 13 hours and 42 minutes, 14 hours and 14 minutes, and 30 hours, 56 minutes at high speed in this car. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the 6.9, I did manual swap this car, and this was one of the fastest cars of its time, especially as a sedan. Actually has a 6.8 liter dry sump M100 V8. So this was the successor to the very popular 6.3 models of the 60s and 70s with the 600 grosser and the 300 SEL 6.3. I love the lines of this car, even arguably more than those, just because it has a more muscular appearance, especially when you get rid of the US bumpers like we have here with the Euro bumpers, and we've got the nice Renault wheels on here, Pentas as they're called. It's lowered a little bit on its Citroen style hydraulic suspension, which is all still intact, which was a great thing to have for the US Express, which was the full New York to LA run, where we had an extra 38 gallons of fuel in the trunk. So when you have no cats on their old engine here, it does stain the back of the bumpers. You can see one of our co-cannonballers wrote that in with his finger while it was still nice and hot. You can see we just have the single badge on the back of the car that says 6.9, which was correct for the US market cars. See, we also have our vintage plate. I think just makes the back of the car look very menacing. And of course, we have our custom exhaust there with the dual tips that looks the business. Speaking of exhaust, let's start it up and let you see how it sounds. We're going to show you how we took this car that sat in my client's garage, driven very little over the last 15 years, to winning the Southern Classic and the US Express.
I'm Aaron Tulane. Cameron handled all the wonderful mechanics in bringing this car back to life. I came in as Cameron's co-funder and fabricator for this build on this amazing 6.9.
So I'm back here working on the 6.9, trying to get this transmission finished up. I'll show you some of the hurdles we're running into right now. Here into the car, got most everything mounted up. Clutch is all installed and everything. So we will have to pull the front half of the drive shaft here and lengthen it. We've also got a new forward flange to go onto it, because it is a different size. But what we're having to do now, you can see here, our bolt holes
aren't lining up on these two sides. We were able to get the bottom two, top one there, and top one right up there. So what we're gonna do, drill these out just to give us that little bit of clearance so that we can bolt them in. It's just off just a smidgen there. And we'll get our shifter installed. That's still the automatic shifter there. We'll also have to shim the transmission mount, which mounts to this bracket, as the transmission's sitting too low and it's throwing off our drive shaft angle here. So it was sitting kind of like that, where we need it to sit up higher. But to drill these, I've got the lower subframe brace out here. See it, that's where it mounts the control arm. And take the opportunity to put some new bushings in it. And this gave us some extra space to work in here as well. Let's check out this wonderful contraption of a drill Aaron's put together. Didn't even know you could get attachments like this.
Bolts right in.
Yeah, that's been the whole theme of this transmission.
Easy. You can install it in your driveway. Just get a couple lifts.
Could maybe pull the steering damper and give you some more space.
Yeah.
Already got a massive starter out of it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye damper.
Yeah, we just need to pull that.
All right, that's next.
That'll give us room to get up in the top too.
You gotta go slow. Just aluminum. There you go. You can't just jab at everything, Aaron. I see a drill bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it really worked out in our favor that Home Depot had this metric drill bit.
Is it really?
No.
You just need that metric adjustable wrench. That's what you need.
Yeah.
We got all the aluminum shavings. It's aluminum snow.
We're gonna have to take this transmission down again.
Here's a better look at our setup. This is what you need to do this in the car.
Yeah, just offset that direction, and then 90 degrees, and then turn off this way. You know, just normal stuff.
Yeah. Another day at the office.
Milwaukee fuel for the win again.
So you can see just how little oblonged it is. It's just off that amount. See up there, we got that one ear right there at the top that doesn't even line up, but we'll be all right without that one. Pulled the transmission back to clean out the shavings. See just how much I had to drill these out. Not quite circles anymore, but it'll work. So we're back here, got the front seat out, went ahead and pulled the shifter. Front seat was a bit of a pain. The bolt was stuck right back here. Let's just give us more access to put in the clutch master cylinder and the new pedals. A lot of excess effort to get the seat out just to make our life easier on another part, but here we are. Looking at a theory in order to keep the automatic bezel with the manual. Maybe trim out right here, so when the shift knob is sitting there,
And just use this.
it looks like it's a regular automatic. We'll see what we come up with.
Even if we had to bend it and cut this a little bit, we could air it on this side just to keep that.
It's an idea.
Because I could 3D print a ring
Oh boy.
to clean it up.
Already got the Nardi installed. Got to do better with the radio though. First shifter action with the manual. Newest dilemma. Aaron and I swapped out. Yeah. Getting the pedals in. The bushings on the pedals are too tight a clearance to get onto the shaft here. The next problem is this shaft, which adds the pivot for the clutch, and this goes through where the brake pedal pivot is and bolts through it, only leaves about one thread to bolt on, whereas they want you to put a flat washer and a lock washer before you put the nut on this part. So next hurdle, but we're working through it.
The tool for this project.
Where's our money? This is what's gonna fund our whole, all the change we found under the seat's gonna fund this whole project.
There might be, I don't think this would pay the tolls to get out of New Jersey.
So the US car has this brace here that interferes with the clutch pedal. So we looked at our European cars and it doesn't have this brace. So here goes nothing.
Yeah, well, you should have cut this out before we put this metal line in here. This delicate little metal line.
Delicate copper line, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we get reeling. I mean, I don't see the point of putting it back in. I mean, the European cars don't have it.
And they're faster.
Well, I'm guessing this was just, I mean, it has to be some US crash deal.
Not anymore. Whole car folds in half.
It's not a Corvair.
Easy.
Okay, step one.
Old ML seat cover to protect your work area.
It's just like a welding blanket.
Yeah, perfect.
For lack of flammability. And it really helps with positioning your light.
The bane of our existence is getting the right lighting. Well, hi. You gotta get some torsional stress on there.
Yeah, well.
There you go.
That's the piece we didn't need.
Now we just have jagged edges to cut our feet on when we're driving. It's gonna be the last day. Has the US spec bumpers on it. Got a set of Euro bumpers on the floor. Also test fitting for our 17-inch wheels. Got this nice special tool that Aaron found on good old Amazon. Allows you to mock up what kind of wheel you want to run with your offset and everything. What kind of tire we're looking to run on this car. You see, you already got the bumperette off this side. Here we went ahead and mounted one of the tires on a wheel we had laying around.
As you may have heard in the sound clip there, we've got a valved exhaust on this car so that we can put it in stealth mode, which is conveniently placed right here where the original speaker fader would have been, that fades the speakers from front to rear. See, we go from quiet to noisy. Of course, I like it in the louder setting. I think this large displacement V8 sounds so good. Of course, we have the factory look 6-speed manual. We made a very valiant effort to try and make sure this swap was as close to what would have been factory if they ever made one with a manual transmission. We even got this, it's actually an aluminum shift knob, which I think we've talked about in other videos, but it's dipped to look like a wood grain. You can see we've got our Garmin GPS and our original Becker Mexico radio, which is actually modified for Bluetooth, so you can hook it to your phone and listen to your music, or in our case, we listen to the directions on our road trips, we'll call them. Such great torque that you can just cruise along, and for something that's 45 years old, it still is plenty of power. Even more than that, I'd say, for modern traffic. So we get up to about 70 miles an hour without much fuss at all. I know the ride doesn't come through in camera, but the way this thing rides is one of the best things, is why we chose this car, is for its hydraulic suspension that just floats. We're going to jump on the highway here and try and showcase some of that for you. You can hear our radar chirping away in the background. Who knows what it wants to talk about. One of the many things you use to try and avoid being a customer of the cops. We even have nice cold air conditioning, so that on this mid to high 70s day here, that we are nice and comfortable in here. Let's get onto the freeway here and show you the way this car is supposed to drive. And with this 6-speed, we can drop into 6, doing 60 miles an hour. It's turning 1400 RPM. You can close your exhaust valve and you can go right back to being a normal law-abiding citizen. And the nice thing about the big body Benz, this is the SEL, the long wheelbase. You can stretch out. You know, I've still got enough room that I can fully depress the clutch without stretching my leg if I put the seat all the way back. I don't know how much space that leaves behind me. A decent amount. But it was very nice for all of the stuff we had in here for our Cannonball trip. You know, cameraman's probably getting tossed around a little bit, as this car was not really meant for sporty driving, as it does have quite a lot of body motion. But when you're doing speeds on the freeway, it is very comfortable, and that is what you want on something like this. Is something that can handle the speed, the extra weight, and doesn't beat you up when you're doing 30 hours at high speed. How does a 44-year-old Mercedes, or car in general, hold up to that much abuse and use? Because, you know, as these cars were designed for the Autobahn and so forth, the Autobahn does not have the distances we do here in the US. Part of the trick of Cannonball is getting something that can take that abuse for that long period of time.